So this week's strategy is working backwards. And I definitely found this strategy really, really challenging. My brain kept trying to resort back to the algebraic approach, which was also challenging, but I had a really hard time kind of like pivoting my thinking to working backwards. So for the chicken little's eggs problem, that's the first one I worked on. Um, I have a bunch of things listed for my noticing and wondering. I found this step really helpful just for the wonder that kind of came out of it for me. I was a little thrown off at first about like the half an egg, but I realized if you cut an odd number in half, you're going to get like something and a half. So that's where that other half egg was making our numbers even so that we weren't having to break any. So that's the wonder that kind of came out of that for me was like I knew it had to be an odd number, but then I'm like, well, will any odd number work? Or is it only certain odd numbers? So that's kind of where I went from there. So my first attempt at kind of making the list like what was in the video on Blackboard is what you see here. I think I was kind of overthinking it. Again, I think that might be because of my algebraic kind of approach that I was trying to ignore. So I had it being, okay, well, we're going to subtract half more than a half, right? So if half is 7.5, well, then we're going to subtract 8 kind of thing. And I think that overthinking is what was challenging for me. So I finally had some kind of aha moment. Instead of thinking about half, I thought about an operation that gives you half of something. So I finally kind of had it click for me with this problem, and I was able to make my list with just operations rather than talking about that half more than a half, which was a little confusing. And so once I kind of had that aha moment, it took a while, but I was able to kind of make that list like we talked about and apply it to the problem. And then on this screen, you see my operations that I did to arrive at my final answer. The next problem I looked at was the swapping marbles problem. And again, as you can see in my table, I really was reverting back to that algebraic. I decided it might make sense to make a section of my table for each person, since like different things are happening each step for each person. But I had these kind of unknowns in here that I wasn't sure about. Right, because for Tessia at this point, it would be subtracting whatever Kari and Breen have at that time, and I wasn't really sure how to represent that without using expressions. So then I did try to bring in that notice and wonder, still kind of having a hard time. My wonder was, can I use the method or will it need to look differently since there's no like numbers at the end? It's not like, oh, hey, Breen ends up with 10 marbles or something. So I wasn't sure if I needed to then use expressions or would that be algebraic? So that was kind of where I got stuck with this problem. But like I said, I really liked it for the chicken little's eggs problem. It was just hard for me to turn off that algebraic portion of my brain. But once I did and came to the realization, I really liked the strategy.